This is Why Is This Happening to Me Again with Michael Rice, and what you can do about it, coming together to complete a reality worksheet. So these sessions are recorded and shared publicly to support others in these teachings. And hi, I'm Yinka, creator of Hear My Voice Book Club, which is an inspirational self-development books. And what we've got on this week, we've got the 5 AM club tomorrow. We've got Insanity on Saturday at 7. On Sunday, we've got Children's Meditation with Shoshana Avery, and that's the second and fourth Sunday of every month at 4 PM. And we've also got our online 20 hours Becoming Supernatural Marathon, starts 6 PM till 2 PM the following Monday. And starting on the 2nd of June is the Mirror Work course. It's an online course. If you would like to join that, you will need to message me. On the 6th of June, we've got The Universe Has Your Back by Gabrielle Bernstein. 3 times for that, 5 AM, 12 PM and 8:30 PM. And Michael Rice will be back with us on the 13th of June. Because he joined us on the 2nd and 4th Thursday of the month. And for our Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself monthly book club is the 20th of June at 8:30. We do have lots of WhatsApp groups keeping people connected. Someone's put in the chat, do I need to print the workbook? No, you don't. Everything will be put on the screen. All the questions will be put on screen. So you won't need the worksheet with you. You won't even need to have done a worksheet before. You'll be able to join in. Hear My Voice Book Club runs non-profit events, so everyone can take part regardless of their financial status. Any donations will go to supporting Michael Rice and these teachings of Why Is This Happening to Me Again? I'm just going to do some shoulder rolls to loosen up and get ourselves ready for Michael. So,
hey there, young lady. How are you?
Oh, here he is. Welcome, Michael.
Good. I was having trouble getting in. I had another link that wouldn't let me in. But I found the new one. Yeah. Awesome. Let's roll some shoulders.
Yes. Some nice deep breaths ready for the session. I think you might need it. So nice deep breath in, draw up the shoulders. Just release today as you exhale through the mouth. Nice deep breath in. And big exhale. One more time, nice deep breath in. You might want to give it a big sigh out as you release any tension from the body. So Michael Rice is the founder and director of Heartland, a self-healing center. Michael lectures and teacher on health and healing and true meaning of true forgiveness. Michael is married to Jeannie Rice, who's also occasionally joins us in these sessions. Is there anything you would like to share before we go into the session, into the reality worksheet, Michael?
No, I think we're ready to rock and roll. I'm having a bit of a challenge with my camera, but I'm working on it. Let's see if we can get that taken care of.
Okay, that's fine. As long as we can hear.
Yes. So it's all yours. Let's go for it.
So hopefully you've all got pens and paper ready. And we're going to remember to breathe throughout the session, whatever comes up. Remember to breathe, because holding your breath is exactly how you acquire a past about something and carry it with you. Holding your breath attaches the pain of an experience to a reality in the mind. So we want to remember to breathe. Myself and Michael will continue to remind you throughout the session. So we're going to do a reality worksheet with Gisela, who's kindly last time said she would like to do one.
Sweet.
So the reality management worksheet, my reality, perpetual output constructed by my mind, Wake Up Sheet, Change Your Mind, Change Your Life. The How-To of True RMA Forgiveness. Forgiveness, the tool for waking up from and changing my reality.
Ah, we have a camera.
Yeah,
Cool.
You can see you now.
All right.
So premise, my essential nature, my human life, my very being is love. Hold a newborn baby. The goal of this internal forgiveness wake-up sheet is to empower me to remove fear and or hostility and return me to the direct experience of love 24/7, 365 days.
One of the realizations that's come to me recently, this actually kind of opened up on the radio show last week, is that, well, the question is to hold a newborn. Go back to the moment where you first held a newborn. Tap into the essence of that newborn. And this is a question we've asked of tens of thousands of people all over the globe. And everybody's answer is always the same. It's always some variation on the theme of love. And our culture specializes in ripping us off for that experience. And when we give up that experience, and it usually happens very early in our lives, like way beyond memory, when we give up that experience, any offering the mind has for us is like, oh, it's something, so we take it. But it's a cheap, inferior pretense at life rather than the actual presence of love, the actual presence of a human life. And part and parcel of destroying the awareness of who we are, of literally knocking our human lives out of us, is that we're given a false definition of the word love. And we're told that love has something to do with sexual athletics, or something to do with putting your head on the chopping block and proving that you really love somebody because you'll let them chop off their head, you'll sacrifice yourself for them. And that has nothing to do with the direct experience of being loved. And everybody pursues that because it's in our original experience. But when we give the mind false definitions, then every offering out of that falsity that the mind makes, we tend to go chasing it because, well, it's at least something. But behind it all is the remembrance of love, the remembrance of who we are as human beings, and the desire for that. And the non-being, carbon-based memory mind gives us offerings of all kinds of stuff that are just nothing but cheap copies. So what we're looking to do with this work is to restore each person that engages in this work to the direct experience of who you are as the presence of love. Not something you're going to get from somebody else, not something you're going to get by giving it to somebody else, but by the direct experience of who you are. And to do that, you have to bypass your mind. You have to collapse what's going on in your mind, all the false offerings that the mind has got. And that's the essence of this work, is how to collapse the mind until that thing finally shuts up and we get back to the experience of who we are as human beings. So in a nutshell, that's where we want to go today.
So for 1A, we always start off with I and put your name, who I'm love, I am experiencing. So it would be I, Giselle. Who I'm love, I am experiencing. And then 1B, identify the emotion. Do you have an emotion, Giselle?
Yeah, it swings between, and was obviously I've been sitting and just really reflecting and going within. And initially it was that sadness, but underneath the stronger one is loss.
Okay, good identification. Good thing to tap into.
For those that are joining in, remember to use a separate worksheet for each emotion. Just choose one that you're going to work on for this session. Remember to
And it's important with each worksheet, when you begin it, it's important to make that statement, to recognize the first words on the page that you fill in, and I put my own name in there, who am love. It's a proclamation that that's what I'm heading back to. And that's where we want to go.
And it may be good to, if you're doing many of these worksheets, to start dating them and list the number of what sheet. I can't remember, is it Dan that joins the breath sessions? He's got tons of them. Is his name Daniel?
Yeah, actually, he sent me a picture of a stack of 7,000 worksheets that he'd done. That's Dan.
Mm-hmm.
I was in Florida. Oh, this is many years ago. I was sitting having lunch at a restaurant. And a guy comes over and taps me and says, "Hey, are you Michael Rice?" I said, "Yeah." And he's a businessman, his business suit. And he pulls his jacket open. And he pulls out a sheaf of papers, opens it up, and I think it was 1831. He had his worksheets numbered. That's what he was on. He carried them with him and used them just continuously. It's a life changer.
To date them and put the sheet, and then my emotional upset level before the sheet is 0 to 10, so 0 being the lowest. Or is it how high the sadness level, but feeling of loss is?
Mine it's around 8, and the thing is, when I sit with it, when I sit with the loss, it's a combination of loss. It's not just one loss; it's a combination.
Right.
And
yeah,
and with it comes that sadness, and so that it's quite enmeshed. So that in itself could almost be a 10, or it combined. But
right.
what you say is do a sheet, but the loss, there's multi-layers of loss.
Right. And what that means is, we're talking about what we're working to do is to ferret out thought disorders and remove those thought disorders that contribute to that complex. And the mind organizes information in files, so to speak. And so in your file on loss are all of the experiences of loss that you've ever had or that your mind perceived as loss, and related thought disorders that are usually messages that come from a power person. And they're usually things like you're not good enough, you're broken, you'll never have enough, whatever those messages are. And the idea here is to directly uncover those things and remove them, de-energize them, weaken them in the mind until there's just nothing left in the mind to keep doing that pattern.
So you want to draw your emotion, what that looks like. What does that loss look like?
Yeah, a line drawing, just anything that represents to you what that energy is, what that dynamic is. And notice what's happening with your breath, Giselle. Do you notice anything?
Yeah, I was holding on to that there because I was tuning into the image and the visualization of the loss and what it looks like. I know what it feels like. It's what it looks like. And
one of the other things to recognize about how the human mind works is it literally takes information, it takes thoughts and turns them into pictures. Literally, the world we think we see, that our brain generates, the pictures in our mind, do not resemble anything in the actual world. What they are constructs based on thoughts. Thoughts converted into pictures. You know, you have a signal coming into a TV set, and if you looked in the wires, you'd see there's this digital information, and the TV set is able to convert that information into pictures. That's exactly how the human mind works. It converts information into pictures. And so if I have a picture that's accompanied with pain, it's because there's an underlying thought that does not belong within my structure, and the presence of that thought creates pain. When I am able to access, instead of keeping that thought hidden from myself, when I'm able to access it directly in the presence of active love, which is what this worksheet is about, then those thought disorders tend to just disappear. And when they do, literally the world they construct inside of our minds disappears. So it's pretty profound. And then to recognize that if I'm in pain, my thinking's in error. If I'm in pain, my structure is telling me that there's an energy moving in me that doesn't belong in me. And so the objective is to ferret out that energy and remove it. You know, if we listen to Carl Jung, probably the greatest psychoanalyst of all time, he says, until the unconscious becomes conscious, it will direct our lives, and we will call it fate. You know, and that's essentially the same as the title of my book. Why is this happening to me again? Because it's fate. It's like, look at this. Life must be about doing that because it's happening to me again, as opposed to, oh, I'm imposing this on myself again. I think I'll dissolve this and get done with it. You know, over the years, the first worksheet out of this Aramaic thinking that I created is about 45 years ago. And I've guided a lot of people through it. And at the end of the worksheet, the most common feedback that I get from people is, I can't even believe I was upset about that. Like, what was the big deal? Well, it was never a big deal, but I had a whole lot of pain energy attached to it. When I dissolve the pain energy, it's just like, oh, it's just another thought.
The thing about it is the loss, it's not painful, it's sad. It's sadness that's actually attached to that loss.
Yes.
And I kind of
what I would do,
yeah,
excuse me for interrupting you, but what I would do there is, as you're going through this process, have a separate piece of paper beside you and make note of the thoughts that surface as you're working on this, the thought that surface that brings sadness to you. Because sadness is just a reflection of a thought of loss. When you bring those thoughts forward and dissolve them, then what you'll find is your mind has been having you pay attention to loss because that's its primary underlying thought structure. And when you remove that, there are a billion other options. You're not stuck in that. But as long as we don't understand that, and we don't do the work of cleaning up the mind, then it seems like, well, this is the only option.
Yeah, because that's where it feels like it's stuck. And to loosen this up, this loss, which is that sadness, is like the plug.
Right.
And I'm ready to let that go, because
ready to do
I was chatting to Inka earlier on, it's the amount of pebbles that I've thrown into the ponds to bring up the sediment. I mean,
right.
I've done a tremendous amount, and it's really, really good to have actually somehow, right, okay, we're getting to the deeper stuff within. That's that's more that's coming up.
Right. Yeah. And if you look back at the people in your life, parents, siblings, aunts, uncles, how prevalent is the theme of loss in the lives around you?
Well, that's the other, is I'm very much aware of carrying generational loss. for my mother, my father.
So that's the good old family feeling.
Yeah.
You ready to be finished with it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Good. Awesome. Nice. You're in
Definitely.
the right place.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I did take that responsibility on at a very, very young age.
Mhm.
And I'm aware of that, having gone through a lot of other stuff.
Right.
And now it's that, yeah, it's the loss,
Time to move on.
sadness with it. Yeah.
And to breathe.
Here you go back into the ancient teachings. They said, look to the lives of the fathers. And of course, it isn't just fathers, but fathers and mothers. Look to the lives of the fathers, for ours are but a shadow of theirs upon the earth. We're just playing out the family dynamic. The thoughts are passed on, they're reinforced. They assure us that this experience is real and that it's our lot in life. It's just how our family experiences life. And we carry on with that tradition. And one of the challenges can be is, gee, I'm being unfaithful to the family if I don't carry on that tradition. But go for it, because as you clean it up, you'll open the space for them, even if they're not in their bodies anymore, to also be freed of it.
So my denial.
So my denial displaces my experience of myself as my essence love, and my mind tells me that my emotions are caused by my trigger. Who are you focused on? This is 1C.
So let's define denial now. Denial is the act of thinking or speaking as though something outside of me is the cause of what's moving inside of me. And when I'm in denial, when I think or speak as though that out there, I'm only sad because of that, then I have to dissociate from the real cause of my sadness, which, as you're saying now and recognizing, is something that's been going on in the family for a long time. It hasn't got to do with that. But your mind can put it on any that happens in your life. And that's why when you take a specific situation, who is it? Who's the object of attention? Who are you focused on with this particular worksheet? Whose name are you going to put in that number 1C?
Well, there's myself, my mother, and my father, and stepfather in a way. So there's
so that would be 4 different
worksheets.
Each one on a different object of attention.
Yeah.
It isn't just that one thing comes along and go, oh, well, this is going to rule my life. These patterns become established through generations and generations and experience after experience. So you want to make a note to do a worksheet on each person that you just named, and then pick one of them for today's worksheet. Which one are you going to focus on? And put that in number 1C.
I'm gonna focus on my own loss.
Okay.
Yourself.
Myself.
And what's the story? What's the construct that your mind has around loss with yourself?
And
if you enjoyed the video,
it's the loss. I lost a big chunk of my childhood because of the circumstances that I was born into, and and the environment, that insecurity. And so my identity, I was a little adult far too quick. And
right.
So
okay.
And
so my offering
yeah,
my offering here would be to recognize the denial in what you just said. I'm experiencing this because this happened. My offering would be, I'm experiencing this because this is what my generations have set up. And when I can put this, whatever this is, on the circumstances, then I can pretend I'm experiencing this because of that. But you're not experiencing because of that, you're experiencing because of the pattern that's inside of you. And so what we're looking to do is uncover the pattern. Now, my take, when you hear Carl Jung talk about the unconscious, you listen to psychologists and they'll tell us that 80, 90, 95, perhaps as much as 98% of our thinking, so-called thinking, is unconscious. And my offering is, it is totally unnatural to have an unconscious mind. We're not designed to have an unconscious mind. The only reason we have an unconscious mind is because we live in habitual denial. We live in a culture of denial. We live in family cultures of denial. And I say to myself things like, well, I'm experiencing this because of that circumstance. So now the fact that I'm experiencing this because it's a generational pattern, I have to hide from myself. I have to make that unconscious. I create this unnatural condition. I create a veil. I create a barrier between my subconscious mind and my unconscious mind. And now I'm cut off from that. And I think I'm free of it. But in fact, what I've done is turned it over to my whole creative process. That's why we want to open it. And rather than, as Jung said, it'll direct your life, you want to allow, instead of it pushing the energies around out there to make it look like the problem's out there, we want to work to open. In the ancient teachings, they called it the veil of the temple, said it must be rent in twain. That wasn't a purple curtain in a church. It's a barrier between the subconscious and the unconscious. So I want to open that. And I want to be able to look at whatever is under the surface that's producing this construct in my mind that has me believe that the problem's out there. Does that make sense? It's a big turnaround for the mind to make, but that's something you just have to build the brain cells for.
Yeah. It's almost, well, I completely, it does make a lot of sense. It's almost, I can disassociate from it because well, as I said, it was because of the environment that I was born into, and it's because of that, and it's and then I took on, and I grew, I grew up much faster.
It seemed like you just weren't allowed a childhood.
No, it wasn't in terms of the secure environment or the hypervigilance and that awareness. I had to, it's that took on at a very, very young age. So in order to just be relaxed, have fun, joy, it wasn't, I became a little adult very, very quickly. I was often,
right.
I had a very mature old head on my shoulders at a very young age.
So that would go into your line on your perception. What's your story?
Okay.
And Corey, when you say I have no person but the government of the city, any object of attention will do. I can put it on the person I look at in the mirror. I can spill a glass of water, and when it spills, go, I'm so enraged at that water spill. No, I'm not enraged at water spilled. I have rage in the water spilled, so I put it in my brain's image of water spilling. I can put it into anything. The objective here is to get back to the point where I'm willing to be totally responsible for everything that I hold within my mind. And part of that process is to breathe. Go for it, Yinka.
Okay. So one day, the truth is only my thoughts cause my emotional upset. The thoughts, a separate wake-up sheet for each thought, I use to cause my emotion of 1B.
And it seems like you've pretty much identified that when you said, I was forced to grow up too quickly. I didn't have a childhood. Now, each of those could be a worksheet topic. each thought that you come up with that relates to a particular construct in your mind. You know, we don't create a whole detailed world where I look out and I see people and, you know, cars and walls and lights. We don't create that out of one thought firing. It takes a whole complex. And so each separate thought, in order to uncover it and address it, is a separate worksheet. But you've got a couple of things that you've already said that you'd fill this in with. So pick one of those, and then let's go on to 1E. Of course, breathing while you do it.
Have you chose one?
Yeah. I've written them all down, and like, you know, Michael said.
What's happening with your breath?
I'm holding on to it.
What breath you say? That's the breath I'm talking about. Yes, that one. You want to really be paying attention to this whole process,
Yeah.
because the way that we hide thoughts from ourselves is by holding the breath.
Yeah.
And then we attach those thoughts to parts in our mind, and they seem like they are in charge, but really we're the ones who put them there. And by breathing, you can start to loosen them up and let go of them. Whole game changer there.
So 1A, I want to punish by. How do you want it? Because as it's on yourself, how do you want to punish yourself by?
So who were the adults that seemed to create this environment where you had to grow up instantly? And you put those in there.
Okay, so I put them in there. Okay.
And what were the punishment thoughts? And Tracy, my offering would be, no, you weren't holding your breath for her. You were holding the breath for what was resonating in you. You have a similar thought disorder. There's a reason this particular group came together to do this particular worksheet. And so just, you know, take a look at it, own it, and move through the layers.
Yes, indeed. Thank you very much.
Yeah. We're all in this together. You know, the bottom line is none of us is any different. You know, one of the games of the ego is mine was so bad, nobody would ever understand. The truth is, everybody's in the same boat. Pretty much everybody's doing the same thing.
When I'm on this one here, this E, I want to punish, and I've written, okay, my stepfather and mother, but strange enough, what really came up was I'm actually punishing myself.
Yeah. So then what's the punishment thought? Put that in the line on self. And notice as you say mother and father, these would be ideally two separate worksheets. You do one on mom, you do one on dad, the same circumstance, but they're different thoughts connected to each one. Remember that literally the whole world we see, the visual picture in our mind is created by our minds based on the thoughts we hold. When you reach in and you suck those thoughts out and you get rid of them one at a time, there comes a point where that whole structure just collapses. And that's when you go, well, what was the big deal? Well, that's nothing. Well, it's nothing when you've cleaned up the thought disorders, but as long as they're thought disorders, it seems like, oh my God, the trauma is just unfathomable. Yeah,
and I think as I'm doing this, because for the 1B, I've chosen the lack of fun. And that's where I'm actually punishing myself by not allowing myself to have fun.
Make a note of it, write it down. Now that would be very likely another worksheet where you do a worksheet where you are the object of attention and I don't allow myself to have fun. That would be another worksheet. When I do a worksheet, I always have at least a dozen blanks in my hand. And you'll notice that there's a different quality of attention that you pay to your thoughts when you're doing a worksheet. You become aware of things that otherwise you just habitually skip over. And so if you catch like something like what you just said, then put that on another worksheet, start it, whatever. If it's step 1C or it's whatever it is, just put that in, then go back to the worksheet you're working on. And what I've found over the years is that I usually have about 4 worksheets come out of every worksheet that I do. At least back in the early days.
Michael, sorry, could I just double check on something there?
Of
So,
course.
On E, when it says, I want to punish 1C by, and I've put there my stepfather and my mother,
Right.
but that's not the strong emotion. That's not what's really come up is the actual punishing of myself.
Self.
And so I'm punishing myself because I am not allowing myself to have fun. Is that not? Is that?
That's on track, but you want to do all of the above. Yes, that's the overriding energy, what you're now realizing you're doing to yourself.
Yeah.
But you'd also clean up whatever the punishment is around mom and or dad.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry. I was just trying to make sure that because this is.
No, that's right on track.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I'm definitely, coming back to all the other.
If we actually have a whole power person worksheet. This is a 1-page worksheet. Power person worksheet's 14 pages long, and it really unravels the mind in that regard. And usually what happens is we get a basic message from our power person. And then when our power person isn't there to beat us up with that message, we beat ourselves up with it.
Yeah.
It's all the same thing.
Yeah.
It's all just time to be done with it.
I've just carried on the domestication. I've been trained we've all been trained very well, and we just continue.
Yeah. I like to call it the good old family feeling.
Yeah.
And it's just time to clean it all up.
Yes. And to be willing to process us all. So to say, I'm willing to process all dis-ease as I go through the physical, mental, and emotional symptoms of healing.
Now, when you really start doing this and willingness, I have a term I use for willingness. I call it cosmic grease. It's what accelerates the process. If I get in touch with that thought, I've just never allowed myself to have fun. I've been so bad to myself. It's so horrible. And I stop breathing and I tighten everything up. I can hang out with that dis-ease energy for years. If I stop and I breathe and I go, I realize now I've been doing it to myself.
Yeah.
I'm willing to be done with this. Literally, it moves the structure from resistance to a superconductor state. If you go back into the ancient Aramaic language, which is the root of what we call our Western scriptures, the word Satan does not mean a dude with a red suited tail and a pitchfork. The word Satan in Aramaic means the resistor, one who misleads. It's not something out there. It's ourselves misleading ourselves. So when we go into this state of, oh no, I don't want to, just look at my body posture and what's happening with my breath and my throat. What am I doing? I'm shutting everything down. I want to develop the ability and the willingness to do the opposite and go, oh, that's big stuff. I'm going to breathe into that. I'm going to just move this energy out of my structure. You just went from a disease state to a healing state. Now, when you go to the healing state, that means that you're going to uncover symptomatic energies. When you think of this body-mind unit as an energy system, when an energy comes into the structure, it reflects symptomatically. They can be wonderful symptoms. I'm happy, I'm delighted, I'm joyful, or they can be horrible symptoms. I'm in trauma, I'm in pain. But it's all a result of the energy that I'm holding on to. So now what I'm declaring to myself here is I'm willing to embrace all of the physical effects of this disease process that my family system has been engaged in forever. I'm willing to embrace all of the mental disorders, all of the thought disorders that my family has taught me to engage in, and as far as I can tell, has gone on forever in my family system. I'm willing to move through the emotional disorders that are key to it. And so breathing, softening, literally, physiologically turns you into a superconductor state. And when you hit what we call still point, that's when the energy, the old toxic energies move high speed, fast forward out of the system. And that's the objective.
3A. My desire, the constructive result, the exact goal that drives my pain perception is that I want 1C, my trigger to.
So when you're doing this worksheet on yourself, your name would go in here. When
Oh,
you're doing this worksheet on mom, mom's name would go in here. When you're doing this series of worksheets on dad, dad's name would go in here.
okay.
And, you know, I mean, I don't know what your history is, but I could easily imagine with this sort of thing, gee, you might even put God's name in here at some point. If you came up in a household that had religious abuse going on and that sort of thing, then, you know, God might be the object of attention or your concept of. And so you put the name of whoever it is and begin to move through it. And that's what in a willing state, in a superconductor state, you get to move through those energies, high speed, fast forward. The question is asked by Tracy, does that mean once it's out of the system, it will never, ever return? Well, if we work through a particular energy, we can be done with it, but we can go back and buy into it again. We go back and play the game again. If we've got the inclination to go back and do it again, I would say that's a reflection of we haven't dealt with the deepest core of that issue yet. And what tends to happen, it's kind of like we when you start doing your work, you live in a spiral. You find an issue, you do some work around it, you go, I'm finished with that one. And you go around and you're moving up the ladder, and the next level of vitality you hit, you come back to that issue again. You go, geez, I thought I was finished with that, but okay, I'll do it again. And then up the spiral, and you'll go through as many layers as there are within your genes until it's finally cleared up. And again, willingness is the cosmic grease.
Thank you. Makes a lot of sense. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, we used to have at our teaching center, we used to have a closet where we kept all our cleaning supplies, and that we called cosmic grease. Willingness is the cosmic grease. So what's the goal? And you'll notice that unless you're just, and this is of course for everybody, unless you're just a miserable person generally, you'll notice that you're pretty happy with most everybody in your life, as long as they're fulfilling the goals you hold for them. Notice you go into upset at them, pretense, when they're not fulfilling a goal you hold for them. This is the key way into forgiveness. Understanding that is the key way into how you forgive, how you remove what never belonged. Remember that we're not in any way, shape, or form interested in letting anybody off the hook because of our pain. That is not forgiveness. That's a Greek idea of pardoning. What we're interested in is actual forgiveness. And actual forgiveness is the ability to go inside myself, find the unconscious part of my mind with which I hold thought disorders, bring them forward in the presence of love and dissolve them, be freed of them. And the key way into doing that in a very precise way, and you know, I've worked in this field for better than 50 years now, and I've studied and searched and looked at everything. There is only one consistent, persistent way to move these disintegrative energies out of the tissue structure on an ongoing basis. And that's through this worksheet process, through forgiveness. And I won't take any credit for the worksheet process because I didn't create it. It was created 2,000 years ago by a man named Yeshua. He knew exactly what he was doing. He knew exactly how to clean toxic, death-producing energies out of the structure. And the Greeks turned it into something to do with religion rather than, here's how your energy system works, here's how you clean it up, that's all. So identifying the precise goal that you have for the trigger you've named in this worksheet. Now, one of the games that oftentimes people will do is they'll switch issues at this point. They'll go, yeah, I had all that stuff with dad, and you know, he was always on my back, and it was always a trauma. And then when I get down here, I go, well, all I wanted to have is a happy life. Well, I just switched issues. I just switched out of the worksheet I was doing on dad. Now I'm doing a worksheet on myself, wanting a happy life, which may be a very valid worksheet to do, but it's got nothing to do with dad at this point. So make sure that when you get to this step, you're looking back at whoever you named in number one, and precisely what is the, you know, if you were to describe what in your heart of hearts you really wanted this person to do, that's what you want to fill in this blank. Well, I just wanted them to come and hold me and hug me and assure me that I was safe and that it was okay to just go off and play and have fun with the other kids. That's what I wanted. And that's what you put in this blank.
But this one is about me. This is not about them. That's
Right.
different. So
So what was the goal for you?
so the goal for me is
Are you breathing?
Really,
It was hard to tell from here. It didn't look much like there was much breath in there.
yeah, I'm just deep into where I've connected really, and
Let me reinterpret. I'm just deep in hiding from myself by holding my breath. That's all holding the breath means. We have this game we play. Here's how it goes. This whole body mind unit I would offer is a multi-generational database.
Yeah.
We've searched through the database and we've decided what information is safe to look at. And it goes from here to here. Everything else that I don't want to look at in any given situation, I shut the breath down because I don't want to look at that. That's why you'll notice at so many steps in the worksheet, there's a reminder to breathe, because I cut myself off from those parts of the biocomputer in order to be in the safe part of the biocomputer. And you want to go into the unsafe part of your biocomputer to clean it up, or you'll never clean it up. Hence the reminder to breathe at every step to keep the breath moving. So what's the goal you held for yourself?
It's linked to two actually. It's
Yeah.
is to have fun, and
Is it to have fun or to allow yourself to have
to
fun?
allow
They're two different things.
Yeah, to allow myself to be open and relaxed to having fun.
Great. There you go. The perfect wording. Put that in that blank. Yes. And notice as you're writing what you're doing with your breath. While she's writing, Inka, thank you for the work you do to put these slides together so we can do this for everybody. It's awesome.
I really enjoy doing it.
Thank you. It's an awesome contribution.
Can I say, I know this is Giselle that's doing this worksheet, but I'm doing it here as well. And I think this work is the first time I've ever really got to the nub of this. I've had so much therapy and so much work, but this is really gets to the nub of it. Like nothing else. So I'm really grateful.
Cool. Unfortunately, most therapists are therapying themselves through their clients.
Mm-hmm.
Most therapists aren't therapying their client, they're therapying themselves. And this is a tool which you can use for yourself, by yourself at any time, and get to the very root of whatever's hidden in the unconscious. You don't have to lay on the psychiatrist's couch for 25 years to find the deep, dark, dirty thing that happened. All you have to do is fill in the blanks, breathe, stand in willingness, invite love to be present, and you'll clean up your database. That's all. Dr. Tim Hayes does the first hour of our radio show every day. And as a clinical psychologist, he's been in practice for 40 some years. He's been studying this work, my work, for close to 20 years now. And when he first started to come on a radio show, we kind of connected through the radio show and we banter ideas back and forth. And he eventually became a co-host, and then eventually went to where he hosted his own hour of the show. But what he shared is that as a clinical psychologist, he and his buddies would hear about some therapist is doing great work with people, and this therapist doing a workshop, and they go to that workshop because they were going to learn how to do what that therapist did so they could do it with their clients. And he said, and we were never able to do it. Like nobody knew why that was so successful for that person, but they couldn't teach it to anybody else. But the thing that attracted him to this and has had him invest many years in it now is that he realized that he could hand this worksheet to anybody And anybody who was willing to use it could produce the exact same results as he did, as I did, or as anybody else. And all you have to do is put the pen to the paper.
Yeah,
And
and
it's
you
a process. It's a
don't have to
process.
wait.
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
because I feel like I've had like months of therapy wading through and it's been exhausting. And then this is literally just sitting with this a few times and doing the worksheets a few times, and it's just digging it out like nothing. And it's not taxing in the same way either. It's challenging,
Yep.
emotionally challenging. It's not taxing in the same way as like traipsing through months of therapy.
And here's the bottom line of it. I compare most therapy to rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic. The ship's going down, but I moved the chair and I got close to the band, so I got to hear the band a little better as I drowned. And that's what most people are doing. This is about a whole different thing. This is about going directly to the thought disorders that create the trauma, accessing those thought disorders, clearing the space on a conscious level. The ancient name of the conscious mind is the alter, A-L-T-E-R. It's where we can alter or change unconscious dynamics. However, if you're trying to change an unconscious dynamic, well, the alter's full, kind of hard to do. And so what most people are doing is they have these perceptual constructs and they're trying to fix this and they're trying to fix that and they're trying to rearrange this and rearrange that and rearrange this and rearrange that, hoping to clean it up. That's the deck chairs on the Titanic. When you cancel the goal, what happens is you collapse the whole structure of the mind. And you go directly. You're not now trying to fix the picture, but you're going directly. You're bypassing the pictures created by the mind. You're bypassing trying to fix this terrible thing that happened or what have you, and you're going directly to the underlying energy, bring it forward in the presence of love, and it dissolves. It took me over 3 decades working with these tools directly to understand that that's what's going on with this tool. And the genius of the man who sourced it is just beyond comprehension to me.
Yeah, you've just described my whole life of therapy. Thank you so much. It's felt as if I've moved things around, and then I've, a year later, I've gone back in again and gone, I thought I was done with this, but I've tried. And it's because I'm using the mind to just analyze over and over. And then I've been so exhausted, and then I'm still feeling it in the body. It hasn't actually released it from the body at all. So this, what you say makes so much sense.
In our Codependence to Interdependence Intensive, and if you're ready to take your work to the next level, that's a 90-hour self-study video program. But in that intensive, what I point out is that there is the number one, there's several what I call pseudo solutions of the non-being mind. And the number one pseudo solution, which is what most people are trying to do in therapy, is figure it out. If I could just figure this out, then everything would be okay. You can't figure it out. It's not possible to figure any of it out. Well, why not, Michael? Well, okay, let's say we've got a relationship going on. We got a couple in a marriage, and then there are a couple of kids, and it's chaos and trauma. So we have mom who came from a genetic line of, let's say, people who feel themselves to be victims. We have dad who came from a genetic line that felt like you just had to beat enough people up and then you'd be a winner in life. And then you've got 3 kids with variations on the theme. Now, let's put all those energetic patterns, the genes, and touch together, and let's see if we can figure that out with a 9-bit mind. Good luck. Not going to happen in a million years. So let go of trying to figure it out and recognize that if your mind structures a construct, a picture, what you need to do is collapse that picture, boom, so that instead of trying to fix and affect the picture, you're going directly to and processing the underlying energies that never belonged in you, freeing yourself of them. That's the difference. That's what first century Aramaic forgiveness does.
That's an absolute relief, Michael.
Yeah, I hear you. I got it. I'm with you.
Wow. Yeah. Thank you so much again.
Yeah. Delighted. And if relationships are the core thing that's going on,
That's
you know, it might be time to take on that self-study. It's literally, we did 2 back-to-back codependence to interdependence intensives where we did why is this happening to me again? Healing through relationships, communication. Did you hear what I think I said? And codependence to interdependence, along with mind shifters and still point breathing. And that ended up with 90 hours of classroom time. You know, we spend an hour to 2 hours every other week here. There is an accumulation of a fairly large group of people, and all of the teaching, all of the processing, all of the questions and answers, all of the guidance in a 90-hour self-study video format. And it's a life changer. And it starts out with a personal code evaluation. So rather than trying to figure out what I need to work on, the evaluation tells me, here you are. Here are your 3 challenge areas. 1, 2, 3. We break your personal code down into 10 challenge areas. And here are the 3 that you need to work on first and foremost. And then there are specific assignments. Here's how you work on those. Then when you complete, you do the evaluation again, and you're shown where your next 3 challenges are so you can move forward and continue your work. So if you're ready to take things to the next level, that might be what you want to do, is jump in and start to do the codependence to interdependence intensive.
Michael, I have a
that's all on
question. Yeah.
your website. Sorry, that's all on your website, is it?
It is, Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Thank
Yeah,
you very much.
and if you want to do it, if you're interested in doing it, you could drop Jeannie an email, JEANIE at whyagain.org, and give me a way to contact you, and we can set it up. The cost of the whole program, including the pre and post personal code evaluations, is $600. So it's minimum. And literally, you know, if you're finding the hour or 2 hours here and there that we've been doing, let's see, since the beginning of, we've been doing this for over a year, so 50 weeks. What have we done? Maybe an hour of, an average of 6 hours a month. So about 200 plus hours, and piece at a time. And it's, you know, we're doing a piece here and a piece there. It's all focused in why is this happening to me again? But the codependence to interdependence communication practicum is 90 solid hours on that topic and those tools. So if you're ready to do it, let us know.
Thank you so much. Something I'll definitely think on.
Cool. Awesome. All right. So young lady, where are we at now that you've got that goal down?
Yeah.
So what was the goal you've written?
So that I can allow myself to be open to and be relaxed and have fun.
Nice.
And then so that I can.
Can I throw in a thought intuitively that comes with it to add to that goal?
Mm.
And have people approve of me for doing it? Does that fit?
No, because I don't lean into other people's approval of me.
Well, I'm not suggesting you need it, but the fact that you say I don't need it probably communicates there's a part of you that feels that you need it. And what I suspect is if you put that in there and cancel it, you'll touch into the parts that feel like approval from others is key. Just a thought.
What's coming up for me more strongly is about myself. It's,
Yeah.
There's a
Breathe. Notice the hangout your mind is doing with this. And to me, what that would say is I'd go with adding that to it and see what happens if you put that little piece on the end of your goal being approved of.
Could you say what you said again, Michael, please, if you don't mind?
Sure. You know, where you're allowing yourself to have fun and people approve of me for doing that. Approve of me and support me in doing that. And then the next step, so that I can. So what would be the reason you'd be wanting to do that? So that I can. And there could be a wide variety of things. It could be so that I can enjoy my life. It could be so that I can realize that I'm in charge of my life. It could be so that I realize I can direct my life. There could be many so that I can, but that'll give you another level of insight into your own unconscious.
Okay, so I've gone. I think I've done a bit of a boo-boo here. So I put 3A, my desire, the constructive result, the exact goal that drives my pain perception is that I want 1C, my trigger 2, which is myself. I put my name.
Right.
Yeah. And then B, 3B, which is what we are now, so that I can allow myself to be open to and be relaxed to have fun.
Well, that was your goal, wasn't it? To be open and relaxed and have fun. So that would be 3C or 3A. And then B is so that I can. That would follow that. You want to bring that goal exactly as you wrote it. And then 3B is the result you'll produce out of that.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So I've just written the thing in the wrong space.
Okay.
And I just say, I think Claire wanted to ask a question and I interrupted her a bit when I was asking about the course, and we didn't go back to her if she's still here.
Did you have a question for us, Claire?
No, she's not here.
Oh, sorry, I think she's gone. Yeah, sorry.
Oh.
Good breath. That's the kind of breath that moves the energy right there. When that happens spontaneously, you just moved a chunk of unconscious energy. Now, what's the so that I can?
I think this is where well, yeah, that's what's spoken to me now has come through, that joy.
So that I can experience joy. Perfect.
Yeah.
Great. And number 4.
I choose love, my essence, which stirs the love in everyone involved. And
So I want to tap into whatever it is in me that takes me to the experience of the deepest, strongest presence of love that I can experience. Some people, think about their puppy and hold their puppy, or actually Jeannie does personal one-on-one work with people over the phone. And she had a woman that was having difficulty tapping into love. And finally, they came across the fact that she really cherished her puppy or her cat. Said, well, then think about your cat. No, she couldn't do it. She had to go get her cat, hold the cat on her lap and pet it. And then she was able to tap into that. After 2 or 3 sessions, she got to the point where she didn't have to go get the cat. She could just tap into that love. So what brings that forward for you, and start to cultivate that as a habit to spend time in that space where you're tapping into the presence of love. And there's a story at this stage that I'd like to tell about the rose and the butterfly. And so let's imagine that we have a rose and the butterfly. Oh, here we are. They meet, they fall in love. We give them each an ego. They have a great time together. And one day the butterfly up and flies away. The rose, knowing that the love of the butterfly is the most important thing in its life, uproots itself to give chase. What's going to happen to the rose? Clearly, it's going to die. Why does it die? Because it made something more important than being connected to its source. Whenever you or I make any goal more important than staying connected to who we are as love, we give up our human lives for that. And I'd offer that's the only thing that leads to death, because we're not designed to die. We're not designed to age as humans. And so number 5 here is a review, literally, of the whole first half of the workshop. Why don't you go for it, Yuka?
So when upset, my perception, my mind construct is built out of corrupt data driven by my goal, number 3. By cancelling that goal, the driver that selects the data that produces my reality, my errant perception collapses, and I get to drop into the part of my mind hidden from me by pretense that others are responsible for what I have created again.
Now, as you're thinking about that particular statement, are you breathing? And if you're not, then as you read it, breathe. You know, this is specifically designed to resonate those unconscious things. And, you know, when we go unconscious, the breath just shuts down. And so that's the place where you enter the practice of restoring your breath. And literally, because that construct in the mind is driven by a goal, when you cancel the goal, it collapses. When it collapses in on its own footprint. So now you've got direct access to your unconscious. That's what Carl Jung was trying to give to people, direct access to their unconscious. You don't do it by laying on the couch. You do it by recognizing the driver for pain perception is the goal that you hold. And in Aramaic, the word forgive is shabag or shabak. It doesn't translate to forgive. It translates to cancel, to let loose, to untie. So cancel that goal, recognizing that that goal is the driver that's using my unconscious data to build this pain perception. I want to collapse the pain perception, and I do it by canceling the goal. And go on to 5B.
So if they were the ones with the problem, why am I the one with the pain? Action step: while holding love conscious, active and present, Rahma, I now choose to collapse my mind's lies by willingly cancelling my goal for 1C, which was...
So you bring the answer from 3A down to this blank. And you're going to cancel the goal that you identified in 3A, and you're going to cancel the goal from 3B. So it'd be canceling the goal to allow myself to have a good time, and 3B, what was it? To be able to have joy. So you want to cancel both of those goals at this point and breathe. Now the mind says, wait a minute, Michael, that's crazy. These are perfectly good goals. Why would I cancel them? That's what I need. That's what I deserve. Sorry, I agree with you. You deserve them. Why haven't you created it yet? And often the reason you haven't created it is because there's a bigger part of your mind that says you can't have it than the part that says you can and you do. And what you have to do to clean it up is access that bigger part of your mind. And you do that by collapsing the construct of the mind, dropping into the unconscious, bringing whatever's going on under the surface forward in the presence of love, breathing through it and removing it from your structure. That's forgiveness. And when you realize that these are generational patterns, we go on to the next step. If I've got something that I recognize, yeah, mom and dad did this. Oh, yeah, I can remember grandma and grandpa. Boy, how long has this been going on? If recognizing that I have a 9-bit mind, how long is it going to take for me to clean up 1, 2, 10 generations of this insanity? Probably never going to happen. What Yeshua taught 2,000 years ago is that there is a power in you. In Aramaic, you'll see at the top of the line here, Ruka Dekucha. That's the Aramaic word. There's no translation that's anywhere near accurate for those words in the Aramaic language. But what it speaks of is that in each one of us, there is this feminine elemental force that, when invited into activity, undoes the effects of my errors and teaches me the truth. The words Ruka Takucha by the Greeks were translated as the Holy Spirit, some kind of disembodied spirit being that's going to do something, who knows what. No such thing in Aramaic. It's a literal feminine elemental force in us that we can call on and ask for help. And so this is, and we leave this blank because everybody's got their pet name for whatever this power is. I usually just write it as Ruka. I invite Ruka to incline me toward healing, several things, to restore me to my newborn essence love, to heal my denial, to heal my capacity to generate the emotion that I identified in 1B, and then to help me open a direct conscious relationship with and gently remove the denied, dissociated, and projected parts of my mind. So I'm asking for these things of this process, of this power. And in our modern language, we could call what was called Ruka Takucha in Aramaic, we could call it the super processor. We each have within us a power that if we are willing to go for it, we'll move those things. We've got free will. It won't move it if we don't want it moved. But if we are, it's amazing. And of course, breathe. And then comes the, go ahead.
Sorry, just quickly. Can you just explain that bit again about you're cancelling the goal, even though it's a good goal? But is it because you're coming from love anyway, so you'll be fulfilled in all ways anyway? You won't need to like go out and get that. Is that why?
No.
I
mean, it's a perfectly good goal. When I'm finished the worksheet and I've cleaned up my own mind around it, this is a good goal. I still want it. I go back and reestablish the goal. It's perfectly fine to have goals. The reason why I would cancel a goal is because I recognize and I could admit when I load this goal in my mind, it brings up pain.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to clean up my mind by canceling the goal and dropping into and cleaning out the pain. Once I'm finished with that, go back and establish the goal and go for it. It's wonderful. But as long as I load a goal and I go, and oh, well, I'm so sad and I'm so hurt and I wish I had what I want, I've loaded a goal that keeps me circling in the pain and the trauma.
Right.
Here I'm recognizing my goal causes my mind to use that data, and I want to clean that data out. Once I'm finished, hey, go back and reestablish the goal. Go for it.
Got it.
Some people interpret this as, oh, I'm not supposed to have any goals. No, have all the goals you want. But if you recognize that you put one in your mind and you're in pain, clean up your pain before you go for it. Does that make sense? Cool.
Absolutely perfect sense. Thank you.
Cool. So then number 6, breathing, Giselle?
Yeah.
Good. Nice. That's the first time I've asked that question. You've actually been breathing. Nice.
Yeah,
Yay.
I'm breathing, and I've been yawning and I've been burping, and yeah, I felt a pain in my neck, so I know something is definitely shifting.
They're all signs of release.
Yeah.
And notice that this is what, when you invite this super processor to go to work, happens. I mean, it literally will start to shift everything in your physiology.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. Nice.
Thank you.
So then number 6, I'm going to start to document what's happening for me.
So is it that I cancel my need to be right?
Yeah.
Is it? And make up another story out of my hidden corrupt data, hallucinate proof that my fear, hostility-based story, my reality is true.
So there are 3 goals with this worksheet that you cancel. The primary goal you had for the object of attention. The reason I wanted that goal was so I could. I'm going to cancel that goal. And now, one of the things that's brainwashed into most of us is the need to be right. It's kind of a component of everybody that's raised in the one world universal religion of blame. I'm right, you're wrong, it's settled, why argue? If I'm the one with the pain, I'm the one with the problem. There's something not right in my mind. And if I'm addicted to being right, I'll keep covering up whatever it is that I need to heal. So in this case, 5C, I'm going to cancel the need to be right. And instead of making up another story to pretend that I am right, I'm willing to let that go and be free of it. Breathe, and as you breathe, let your breath move throughout your whole structure and let everything soften. And breathe into the next step. How do you feel? So Giselle, you've already told us a little bit about what's going on, but detail a little bit more. How do you feel physically, mentally, emotionally, whatever's moving for you? And then look back at number one, and how does that situation look to you now? And here's where you document your shift in perception. There is nothing more valuable in the world than the tool that will allow you to shift your perception. That would be my offering.
I feel a lot lighter, a lot more
Awesome.
awareness and insight into this.
Cool. Awesome. And then if you look at the whole circumstance you described in number one, fill that in 6B. What does that look like to you now?
So what was that? B. Oh, lost.
Do you want to just look through the whole structure of number one?
Mhm.
If you look at that now, how does it look to you?
It's a lot less loss.
Okay, good. So mark it. There's lots, and just make a few notes so that you want to document the shift that's happening.
Well, there's a lot less of feeling of that loss. Yeah, because
That's what that breath you took a little while ago, they said, there's where the release happens. That's what takes place. And as I say, the most common, I mean, I've worked thousands of people through this worksheet, and the most common feedback I get when they get down to this step is like, I look at that number one, it's like, what was the big deal? There is no big deal. Why is there no big deal? Because the big deal that was inside of me, I just processed out. I just freed myself from it.
I just wrote down that I couldn't even remember what I'd written first. That's how much it didn't matter from the start.
That's the power. That's the power of Ruka Takucha. When you really truly invite that power, when you trust, okay, that may not make intellectual sense, but I'm going to trust that it's there. And I breathe, and actually that power, another word for Ruka Takucha, is the breath. If you go back into the ancient creation story, again, this isn't about theology, this is about life. If you go back into the ancient creation story, it doesn't say God sent out his spirit, it said God sent out his breath. It's our direct connection to love. And we cut ourselves off from it. We get stuck in the patterns of the generations. Remember that story of the Jews wandering in the desert for 40 years? What had to get out of what did they have to do to get out of the desert? What did they say had to happen? They said the old generation has to die off. That didn't mean everybody in old physical bodies had to physically die. The root of the word generation is genari, it's cause. The causes hidden in the unconscious mind have to be cleaned out. You remember in that teaching, they said, take care of the heart, for out of it are the issues in life. A heart is another word for the unconscious. Take care of what you deny and dissociate from, because that's what you empower to create your life with. You want to open the veil of the temple. You want to access those things in the presence of love and let them be breathed off. Get free of them. And and then you look at them and they're like, what was the big deal? The big deal, I was hiding it. It's been going on for 100 generations and nobody had a clue how to get rid of it. Here's how to get rid of it. And it works. That's all. Good breath. That's the kind that moves it.
Like you, I'd actually forgotten. I'd completely lost. I had to really try and track down what was the actual emotion I was trying to. I was like, oh, what? I'd completely forgotten. Yeah.
Well, and in order to remember something, there has to be enough intensity.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like if I've got a radio and I've got the volume turned down, I can't remember anything. I can't hear anything because the volume's turned down. I have to increase the amplitude, turn the volume up to hear it. Well, it's the same with the content of brain cells. When there's a lot of trauma and drama in it, boom, it comes up and man, it takes over my life. when I de-energize it, it's like I can hardly recall it was there. I have to
Yeah.
really go look for it.
I did. I had
That's
to,
the result of forgiveness.
I had to go and look for it.
Mhm. Yep. And then step 7.
So the
So,
principle
principle
of
of-
the universe. Do you want to read it?
No, go for it.
Right. The principle of the universe is that by giving, I first get the original. I'm grateful for this opportunity to heal. I choose truth and perfect love. 1C, based on free from love and structure, a goal toward you and offer to you.
So now you're going to do this. You're going to offer yourself a goal. You're the object of attention in it. So what's the goal you're willing to give yourself at the end of this?
Ooh.
Are you breathing? So notice you're shutting down another part of it. It's safe to look
Yeah,
and breathe.
yeah. Unconditional love.
Well, you know, when you recognize the mind works by resonance, it is instructions to the mind with the words you use. And when I say unconditional love, I'm saying to my mind, now we want to do love with conditions. My replacement for that would be to offer yourself all embracing love.
Yeah.
Like that you're truly willing to just totally, completely embrace yourself in the presence of the love that you are and extend that love out into the world.
Yeah, I think that's where I was leading. I was thinking, right, there was something there, and as you just said, all embracing love and acceptance.
And acceptance. Yeah, good piece to add to it.
Yeah.
And then you want to follow the words in red at the bottom. Breathe, be love, cleanse, and breathe in oxygen. Shift the whole foundation of your perception. And that's first century Aramaic forgiveness.
So that's the end of the worksheet slides. I don't know if you want to go into the others or we could close
So
it
Tracy,
there.
with that comment that you're making, so I'd be doing a worksheet on allowing yourself softness, gentleness with yourself, of giving that to yourself. I do a worksheet where that's the goal that I work on.
What is that on the website as well? I've looked at some of them, and so which worksheet would that be?
The reality management that we're doing now, I take the worksheet we've been doing right here and right now and put you
Yeah.
as the object of attention and the goal to give yourself that gift. And
Yeah.
then cancel the need for that goal, which will then show you the next level down of what you're hiding.
Okay. Yeah.
And you know, often behind something like this, there's a power person message. That's where the codependence work comes in. There's a power person message. And with this, you know, what you wrote there, your language there, we get into a thing we call regulatory speech and how speech reveals, when we've got the brain cells for us, reveals ourselves. And so the power person message that would go hand in hand with that would be something like, you know, I don't deserve to be embraced in gentleness and softness. There's something wrong with me. I deserve to be abused. They'd be the kind of thought disorders that would go along, the kind of power person messages that need to be cleaned out. And that's where you'd step into doing the power person worksheet.
Yeah.
There
Okay.
is on our website, there is a 1-page power person worksheet that's very powerful. As a result of the 2 online intensives that I spoke of, I mean, that worksheet, that power person worksheet's been around for 25 years. And it was just a year and a half ago when we did the codependence intensive online that worksheet grew from 1 page to 14 pages. It's not something we make publicly available because it needs the instruction that goes with it, but that takes it all to the next level. But that's the kind of power person message you'd be looking at that needs to be forgiven.
Okay, yeah, thank you again.
Honored, delighted. Making sense for everybody? Questions, thoughts, answers, ideas?
Thank you, Michael. It was phenomenal. I've hung in the background and I've listened and I've dived in and I've just literally not ever, I think Yinka asked in the last session, would anybody, and my mouth said yes before my mind had even engaged.
Well, actually, you can offer her an extra thank you, because I had actually suggested to her that we do the worksheet with her. And the next time, I'm going to speak up now, the next time we do decide to do another worksheet, Yinka, I'd like you to be the subject of it, because I know you're out there supporting people, and I'd like to be of direct support to you with a specific issue and support you in taking it all to the next level.
Yeah, I'm off for that.
Well, thank you,
Okay.
Yinka, for
Cool.
and thank you, Michael. I appreciate that very much. This has been
Delighted and honored.
quite eye-opening for me, and I really, it's lovely to always learn new things. Really, I love learning.
Nice piece of work.
Yeah.
Well, you stick to this process, and a year from now, you're not going to know you're living in the same world. 5 years from now, you'll go, oh my God, I can't imagine. 30 years from now, it'll be a whole different game.
I don't think you know how old I am.
I'm saying that. Say again?
I don't think you know how old I am. If I'm around in 50 years' time, that'll be wonderful.
Well, you're designed to be around for eternity, so I'll hold the
True,
space that
that's absolutely
that
true.
you
Yeah,
undo the energetic patterns of your family system that kill you, and get finished with that.
Yeah.
But, I've been doing this work. I've started developing it 50 years ago and been doing my own personal process on an ongoing basis. And I would say that in the last 2 years, for me personally, in terms of my own personal inner work, is when I've done the deepest, most important pieces of work that I've done in my life. So it's an ongoing process when you realize the generational influence. It's a pretty significant thing to do.
Yeah.
And, not many people are going to spend 50 years of their lives full time understanding these principles. And that's one of the reasons why I do the best I can to make it as universally available as possible, because most people aren't going to spend the time to understand it. And hopefully we've shortcutted it for everybody that's listening. And Yinka will have this as a video on her YouTube channel, and we'll have it there as well. Turn people onto it, share it with them. And, if it's your lot in life, maybe start helping people to do worksheets, because when you help other people to do it, you come to a whole new level of understanding yourself.
Yeah, I'm up for doing a lot more of these. And Tracy, if you want to do some, I'm happy to do some with you if you like. Or anybody else that's on here, we can do them. And I'd love to do one of those power person messages. That sounds really good.
I'd be up for that, Giselle, definitely.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
I have.
Well, thank you all. I'm going to.
Can I have a question too?
Oh, go for it, Corey.
So I had there was a great worksheet for me what Giselle did. There came up so many things, and for me came up that I do not believe in myself, and the other thing is that what was it? I cannot succeed. I have it. My life has to be difficult.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's a big one in the culture. Yes.
And that so as if that is so, and on the other hand, that I feel then powerless because I think I do not deserve that easy and good life. And
so there are 2 worksheets for you to start working on, and with you when you talk about how powerful that is for you. They'll probably be the worksheets that you're going to do over and over and over and peel through the layers. So
This,
start putting the pen to the paper on both of those things you just identified and watch how your life changes.
yeah. And the is there the parents? I mean, the parents are of course involved somehow, right? But I do not see that so obviously that so I put more the responsible part on myself, not believing that that comes from the past, but thinking that is all what I do is not okay, I'm wrong.
So my input would be forget about trying to figure it out, do the worksheets.
Mhm.
That's what will change it. If you get into, and you know, with your heritage and your intellect, boy, I want to figure this out. Forget it. Just do worksheets and you'll drop in and clean that stuff up. You'll just disappear it.
Yeah.
But I promise you, you could spend the next 100 years trying to figure it out and you won't figure it out.
No, no,
I
no.
promise.
Yeah. And is it so that I, even when I go into the situation of love, so I have here a difficult situation to solve. And when I
Yeah.
go,
So you want to stop thinking about solving it with your intellect.
okay,
Your challenge, Corey, we've been working for several months here. Your challenge is your intellect wants to figure it out. Stop.
yeah,
Do worksheets.
yeah,
Look at the goals, cancel the goals, invite that power to go to work,
yeah,
and watch those things melt. But you're not ever going to figure it out with that head of yours. I promise you.
yeah, I understand what you say. And but the question is, when I go into a situation of love, and then, but I still then can act and do something, that does not mean that I am not yeah, that I am not being active in doing something, right? So even though I go into the situation that I feel a little bit more self-love or something like that, and then and also like laugh because yeah, and then but still then I have the possibility to act in my situation, right? To yeah.
So, Corey, what I hear you doing is trying to reach into your mind and get your mind to figure it out. Here's my input to you. Stop it. Put the pen to the paper and do the worksheet. Here's my invitation. How many, since we've started doing this, do you have a count or any idea how many worksheets you've done since the first time you came on the show?
No, I don't know because I made that on that app. So, but
Yeah, but take a guess. Have you done 2, 10, 100, 1,000?
I don't really remember, but not much more than 2.
Okay. So notice we've been talking about this for months and you've been asking me the question, how do I? You've asked it 100 times and my answer is always the same. Apply forgiveness. And notice you don't do it. Notice you don't do it.
Yeah,
So here's my request of you. I request that you make a commitment to do 5 worksheets a day for the next 40 days. When you do the worksheet process, you enter into your own unconscious dynamics. If you spend the next 40 days in the desert, your life is going to change in ways you can't imagine. But your life isn't going to change while you keep hanging around telling me about how you want to figure it out, but you won't do the process. 40 days, 5 a day. Are you ready to make that commitment?
Yes.
Good. All right, then you'll have our support. It'll be fun to watch how things unfold for you. And we'll be holding the space.
Okay.
Awesome. All right. Well, any other thoughts, questions, answers, ideas? I'm about to run. I've actually been away for a week and then my wife was away and I haven't had any time with my granddaughter and she's leaving here in about an hour. So I'm going to call a completion point to our conversation and I'm going to go hang out with Arya Rain before she leaves.
Well, huge appreciation, Michael. And if anybody wants to support Michael, it'll be left on the screen while a bit of music is playing. So if anybody does want to support, and thank you. And the next session will be Healing Crisis, when we go through this process, which I think is perfect after these worksheets. So that'll be in June. I can't remember what date I just said earlier. I think it's like the 13th, something like that. But second Thursday of the month. So I'm going to play us some music out. Oh, let me go back on. There we go. So thank you, Giselle, and thank you for everyone for joining.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that, and I love the fact that others joined in as well. It wasn't just, you know, it was like a collective, which was that I found really lovely. And you know, I think to do this as collective is really good, because then you don't feel completely on your own trying to figure it out. And I wholeheartedly offer that. You know, I'm more than happy to do a lot more of these with whoever would like to do. We can do them again, you know, in between, you know. And thank you, Yinka. And I guess I'm also going to thank myself for my mouth actually saying yes before my brain actually engaged to say no. So
Before he had time to overthink it.
yeah, I did. Yeah, I did. So, but it was a lovely experience, and yeah, I thought, well, I lost my loss. I lost the. I didn't know what it was. I was the emotion I was trying to process. So that was really fantastic. Thank you.
And if anyone wants to join the 5 AM club in the morning, we're doing another worksheet. It won't be this specific one because I can't do this one without Michael. Well, I can't teach it without Michael, but I'll be doing the one from the book. So I shall play some music and
Thank you, Yinka. Thank you, everybody.
this morning.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Woke up.